8 rules here for dealing with Cafcass, social services, and high conflict professionals, especially when you're being psychologically cornered, emotionally baited, or quietly set up to look unstable. The biggest mistake fathers make with Cafcass or social services is thinking the system works like a normal conversation. It absolutely doesn't. You're often walking into an emotionally loaded environment where your reactions matter more than your explanations. And the second you become defensive, emotional, chaotic, sarcastic, or reactive, you've handed people a narrative. Not always because they're evil, sometimes because the system itself rewards simplified stories. So here's what you don't do. Never explain yourself under pressure. The moment somebody says, "Why are you so angry? Why are you being difficult? Why can't you co-parent properly?" They're not asking for information. They're positioning you. The trap is this. The second you rush to explain yourself, you enter submission mode psychologically. You're now defending your character instead of discussing facts. A calmer response is, "I don't think you mean to, but that question puts me in a position of defending my character rather than discussing the issue itself." That's composed, measured, adult even. And importantly, it keeps you out of the emotional dock. Because once you start desperately explaining who you are, you've already lost the control of the frame. Never argue about your motives. One of the oldest manipulation tactics in family court situations is assigning motives to you. You're only doing this to control her. You're only asking for contact to avoid maintenance. You're being confrontational. The amateur response is, "I'm not, mate. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? No, I'm not." The stronger response is, "I'm happy to discuss behaviors, facts, or concerns specifically. I'm not going to debate assumptions about my inner motives." Dutifully calm, no panic, no rant, because once somebody turns the conversation into who you are as a person, evidence quietly leaves the room. And suddenly, you're defending your soul instead of discussing your child. Never take the bait on character questions. This is huge. Questions like, "What kind of father misses that appointment? Why are you incapable of communicating respectfully? Do you think this behavior is emotionally healthy?" These are not neutral questions. These are identity traps. And the danger is you start trying to prove you're a good person. Never do that. Manipulative or biased dynamic thrives when you emotionally audition for approval. Stay factual. "I'm willing to discuss the specific event, timeline, or communication. I'm not going to reduce this into a judgment about my character." Because once you enter, "I'm not a bad dad," you've already emotionally cornered. Now, never apologize just to de-escalate the situation. This one destroys men in family court. A lot of fathers apologize simply because they want peace. But in high conflict systems, forced apologies often become admissions. You think you're saying, "Can we just calm this down a bit now?" What gets heard is, "I accept blame." Now, obviously, if you've genuinely done something wrong, own it properly, but never perform guilt to reduce pressure, because manipulative people often don't want resolution. They want confirmation. And once you've apologized for something vague, the vague thing becomes established fact. 5, never match emotion to prove your point. The system notices intensity more than context. You may be absolutely right in what you're saying, but if you look emotionally explosive while the other person looks calm and rehearsed, it's who gets written down as concerning. And that's the brutal reality. The father who raises his voice out of frustration often gets recorded differently than the person going through provoking him. So don't perform outrage. Slow down instead. Measured men are harder to distort. And here's the painful truth. Cafcass officers and social workers see angry fathers every single day. The calm father stands out instantly for all the right reasons. Never accept a weaponized language without precision. Words like abusive, controlling, unsafe, intimidating, narcissistic, coercive. These words carry enormous emotional and legal weight now. And some people use them with precision and how they should be used. Others use them like confetti at a gender reveal party. Never casually accept loaded language. Instead, say, "These are serious terms. Can you re-clarify specifically what behavior you are referring to?" That changes everything because vague emotional labels collapse under specifics. Always return conversations to dates, actions, words, incidents, evidence, timelines, not emotional theater. Never accept binary traps. "So you're refusing to cooperate then, are you? Are you saying everyone else is lying? Do you care more about conflict than your child?" These are false binaries. Manipulative questioning often removes nuance intentionally. Your answer doesn't have to fit their frame. Use specificity. Neither of those options accurately describe my position. Or the situation is more nuanced than that, and then calmly explain the exact issue. Because emotionally immature systems love simplistic heroes and villains. Real life isn't that tidy, unfortunately. Never think logic alone wins. This is the hardest lesson for intelligent men and intelligent fathers. You think if I just present enough evidence, clearly people will understand. Not always. Family court is emotional, human, subjective. Perception matters. Presentation matters. Regulation matters. And the man who sends 12 pages of facts at 2 a.m. sounds unstable, even if he's technically correct. Meanwhile, the calm manipulator with a rehearsed tone often appears reasonable. And that's why emotional discipline matters more than emotional intensity. You're not just presenting information, you are managing perception in a highly emotional system. And yes, that's frustrating, but frustration doesn't change reality. Now, if anything you should take away from this, the system doesn't just assess what happened. It assesses your reactions, your regulation, your communication, your emotional control, your ability to stay child-focused under pressure. That's why stoicism matters here. Not fake, emotionless robot stoicism, real stoicism. Restraint, precision, composure, discipline, clarity under pressure. Because the father who stays calm while everyone else is escalating becomes very difficult to paint as dangerous. And in family court, perception can become reality frighteningly fast.